So what I mean by the con of no contact, I don't actually mean that no contact doesn't work. The truth is no contact works much more effectively and in more cases than people will believe. It feels like when you're doing no contact, it's not working. When you start doing it, it's supposed to feel that way. It's as scary to you as it is surprising to them when you do no contact. It does work. What I mean by the con of no contact is there are a lot of times when it works and it pulls them back, but it doesn't work long term. There will be comments I can already kind of read in my mind that are going to be below this video saying, yes, it did work, but they came back and then they didn't stay. And there'll be other comments that'll say they came back and they stayed. Other comments still will say, that's why no contact doesn't work. If they broke up with you once, they'll break up with you again, and there's no point. And I disagree with all of those. The truth is, it works more often than people want to believe. The reason it doesn't work is when somebody's in no contact and they become hyper fixated on the outcome. So what I mean, most of the time, what I see when somebody comes back after no contact works, they might stay for a couple of weeks, or I would say the average is a month or maybe 2 months, sometimes longer. But what you have to make sure that you're addressing, and it's the most ignored and one of the most vital parts of no contact, is making sure that you're reminding yourself, not just them, but reminding yourself that there is a passion, there is a purpose, there is a plan to your life that's greater than their feelings about you in the moment. Some of my favorite people that I talk to, impressive, intelligent, creative, genius people. Well, the thing that makes them genius is that they have an ability to really fine tune and focus in and feel things very deeply. Well, then they lose somebody. It's a really painful breakup. That same focus, that same part of them that makes them exceptional, locks on to trying to win back the person that they love, the person that they just lost. All that's totally normal. But then the extra part of them, that exceptional part of them that allows them to be successful, driven, accomplished, creative, and passionate about whatever it is, gets locked on that outcome. And because that intensity is there, when they do come back, when no contact works, and it works most of the time in the situations that I've seen, the situations that I've coached, when they do come back, a lot of times they're not going to stay because they'll be able to tell that even though you projected the strength to draw them back, at your core, you really didn't relearn, you really didn't reinforce the idea to yourself that you really don't need them to have a happily ever after. As strange as it sounds, one of the contradictions of relationship dynamics, anytime somebody else feels like you can't live without them, that's not actually as attractive as we think. We watch movies like Titanic and we watch the Walt Disney stories and the old romance novels, and we think that if I can't live without them, then that's evidence of true love. We even have songs like Bryan Adams, everything I do it for you, right? It's like, well, what's my purpose? What's my passion? That person. No. If you want to keep them, it's not a bad thing to let them know as they're coming back and when they're coming back to stay, they can't become the purpose, the passion, or the center of your life. The truth is, that's closer to worship. And human beings weren't wired to be attracted to somebody who's worshiping them. Now, is it complimentary? Yeah. Is it flattering? Yes. Is it an attraction killer? Yes. Because we're striving in things, we're trying to grow. We're trying to become better, stronger versions of ourselves, right? It's a natural impulse if you're emotionally healthy. Well, if you're already with somebody that just not only loves you, not only meets you and matches what you feel, but overwhelms you, is that really attractive? Of course it's not attractive. When you get fixated on the outcome during no contact, one of the things that'll happen is that, and I see this with, again, some of my favorite and most gifted people that I talk to, very successful people, right? Well, they have that unusual drive. That's how they became very successful. Well, they're fixated. They're watching every day. They're watching online or they're pulling information, and they're just, look, that's how they succeed. They plan, they monitor, they adjust, they conquer, they overcome. Except now they're doing it even in no contact. Well, that pressure, well, imagine how you're feeling. Let's say, you watch your favorite football team. They work all year. They work all season. They get a good record at home. They get a good record to make the playoffs. The playoffs are a grind. They make it into the championship game. And then at the last minute, maybe in overtime, they win the Super Bowl. We've all seen that. Most of us have seen that. The sheer elation, the excitement of having that fear of loss and that overwhelming joy of attainment comes rushing in. Well, that's what happens when somebody does no contact and they don't do it the right way. Their whole focus has been on projecting strength, but it's always stayed at projecting strength. They haven't allowed the idea that maybe they won't end up with that person to even enter their mind because they look at that as a distraction. No, it's almost like they look at it like a business. Well, I've been able to build this business. I've been able to succeed because I have singular focus and drive. Well, that's great for business, but it's horrible for a relationship. It's horrible to maintain a sense of attraction. The same attraction that wins them back in no contact will sabotage you if you didn't actually learn how to build a foundation of your life and your sense of purpose without them. It doesn't mean you have to act like you don't care. I'm not trying to say pretend like you're apathetic. I'm not trying to be a douchebag coach. But what I'm trying to say is there has to be something that's fundamental to who you are and to why you're here. There has to be a fundamental purpose to your life that's greater than their emotional feelings about you at any given moment. That helps create the tension that keeps them there. What I've seen happen a lot, and the reason I'm making this video, is some of my favorite clients will get that person back. But then when they come back, the elation of having them back into their life. I got the email. We did the phone call. I talked to her last night. I talked to her. She just sent me this message. I can't believe it's finally happening. Well, that excitement spikes. That anxiety just plummets. And all of a sudden, it's just like this whiplash effect. And you can't help but be happy. You can't help. You don't know how to actually project the kind of confidence, and you don't know how to project the kind of resilience to maintain that relationship. Because while they were gone, you were focused on just pretending it. You weren't really focused on remembering it. So I really hate psychobabble. I'm not trying to just devote an entire video to try to explain that, hey, you need to remind yourself that you really do matter too. What I mean is that it's a real critical difference between having the mindset of, I'm going to do whatever I need to win them back because I don't think I can be happy without them. But if they don't come back, I'll be fine. One of them makes it really unlikely that you're going to be able to hold them even when they do return. The other one actually gives you a good chance. But it's because you're projecting the confidence, because you're projecting that sense of knowing yourself, that sense of identity, that sense of purpose. That's really the key. You have to have a sense of purpose about yourself and about your life and about why you're here that's greater than if they happen to be with you while you're here. It's a key thing. And again, I'm making this video because some of my favorite people get really wrapped up in just monitoring every day, every detail, and every moment. Is it working? Oh, it is working. They're coming back. Okay, are they still coming back? All right, when they come back, what do I do? What do I do? Oh, they're back. I'm so happy. I just want to lock this. No, keep that focus. Keep that sense of strength that you projected to win them back. Keep it even when they do get there. Try to stay in the moment. Don't push for long term. Try to remind them and try to remind yourself that at any given time, if they walk away, you will survive. One of the best things that I've seen people do is come up with a project. Look, even if you feel like, look, I'm paralyzed right now. I can't do this right now. It's hard for me to focus on anything. I have trouble going to sleep. I'm thinking about them all the time. Well, then take that thought of them with you while you're doing something else, right? Like, in other words, sometimes it's hard to work out if you're really depressed because your heart's broken. Depression is a paralytic. So sometimes a nice little mental trick you can do is say, all right, I'm going to go work out not to forget about them. I'm going to go work out because I know sooner or later they're going to look over in my direction. I want them to see the strongest version of me. Now you're working out as part of a plan to help draw them back. Well, it starts off that way, right? So think of a project, think of something, a plan, a talent, a skill, some part of your life that you can improve. Now, in the beginning, you won't feel a lot of energy. You won't feel a lot of excitement about doing anything because unless it plays directly into winning them back. But this is a part of winning them back. So initially, it's okay if you're only doing it because you want them back in your life. But as you're doing it, as you're proving to yourself that you are strong enough to function without them, that sense of desperation is going to start getting replaced by a sense of purpose. That's a vital part of being able to keep them when they come back. Keep building that sense of purpose. Keep doing things that impress you about yourself. Keep doing things that not only remind them how lucky they are to have you, but reminds you how lucky they are to have you. And it also helps restore how you see them, because after a breakup, it's really easy to idealize the person that broke up with you and to accept that rejected version of yourself that you feel like. In other words, you've kind of learned to see yourself through their lens. And when they break up with you, you go from seeing yourself as here to seeing yourself as here. And it's jarring. So doing what I'm talking about kind of helps rebuild your sense of your own value while you're reminding yourself that they're not the purpose of your life. The other thing that we kind of do to sabotage ourselves, and the reason it's harder to sincerely build up that renewed sense of strength, that renewed sense of identity on a deep level, and sometimes even a conscious level, we're afraid that if we become strong enough to live without them, maybe we'll get over them. And if we get over them, we don't get them back. And if we don't get them back, we're going to be heartbroken. As weird as it sounds, we don't want to become a stronger version of ourselves, because a stronger version of ourselves might not fight and be willing to do whatever it takes to win them back. And we want to win them back. There's no such thing as being strong enough to live without them. So now you risk losing them. You'll still be able to make the choice, but you have a much greater likelihood of pulling them and winning them back and re-attracting them if you get to the point where you just decide, no matter what, if I have to live without them, I will. Stop telling yourself things like, I'll never be happy if I don't get them back. I'll never get over them if I don't get them back. That's the feeling in the moment. So don't fight the feeling. You can accept right now, it feels like I'll never be happy without them. But then tell yourself a true thought right behind that. But if they don't come back, I will be happy without them because I know my own worth. And bottom line, I know I deserve to be with somebody that's excited about being with me. At the beginning, it's just a claim sometimes. Like in that clean slate message me and Lee talk about, we always say send a message, or sometimes it's called for to send a message that says, hey, listen, I've realized I don't want to be with somebody who isn't certain they want to be with me. That sounds true, but it's not always true. In the beginning of no contact, a lot of times we don't actually mean that. And even though it sounds weak, if we were being honest, the message we would send that other person is, I realize that I don't need to be with someone who's not excited about being with me. But even if you're not excited about being with me, will you please be with me one more time and give me a chance to get you excited about being with me? Because even if you don't think it's a great idea yet, I just need some time and I can prove to you that we really do belong together. That's a very normal thought to have, so don't beat yourself up for saying that or feeling that. Don't say it, but don't beat yourself up for feeling that. But as you're doing no contact, that line in the clean slate message that says, I don't want to be with anybody that isn't excited or certain they want to be with me, that actually is starting to become more and more true, or it should be. If it's not becoming more and more true with you, take a deep breath and realize one of the key aspects you have to not just win somebody back, but to win somebody back and keep them is a willingness and a resolute determination that you're not going to ever look at it like you have to have them to be happy. If you're locked on that mindset, you have to have them to be happy, then chances are even when they come back, they're not going to stay. And you're going to end up finding out eventually that it was never true anyway. You will get over them. You will meet somebody else. You will be happy again. So even what you're feeling like now, it's not really true. It just feels true. So that's part of what we do that's part of what I do with the one-on-one coaching. Not just help you kind of implement how to do no contact, but actually learn how to believe it, how to absorb it. So it's not just a claim you're making. It's actually becoming more and more true. It doesn't actually lessen your chances of winning them back because you're strong enough to live without them. It actually greatly enhances your chances of winning them back.